Regular Legislative Committee meeting of the Town of Vegreville. I call the meeting to order at 3:03. And first, I'll be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thought I'd just let everybody know that Councillor Lemko is away with family in Florida, and Councillor Wawa should be here any minute. Next up is the adoption of our minutes of our last regular meeting. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. So we have no delegations today, but we have some quarterly progresses report. So we're going to start with Parks and Recreation Facilities Manager, Dan Kuzmic. Dan, the floor is yours.
Perfect, thank you. All right, I was going to jump right into it. It's a quick update on our handrail situation. You can see from the sheets above you, we are on track. Going to install them after this season, and pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, took $5,000 out of that $50,000 to buy our handrails and install them going on our stairways at the arena up the stairs.
And how many of the aisles, the stairs, are you planning on doing?
We're probably going to go up 3 and 2 aisles. So I don't want to put them all over the place. Just make it where people will be comfortable, and seniors or anybody that needs access to use them has a way to get up there.
Okay. Any questions on that project? Okay, carry on.
Perfect. We'll go to our next arena item. It's the Rebuild Compressor 1. And that's scheduled for late spring. It's a budgeted item for $20,000. It'll probably come in about 19 and change.
And that was budgeted on its own, not coming out of your miscellaneous?
No, that's budgeted on its own, yeah.
Looks like no questions on that.
Good, then we'll move to our ball diamond area, which is our facilities as well. So the lights at the Riverside, we got an budgeted item for $15,000. We're just in the beginning process, getting one more quote coming in on lights and sending it all to ADCO. So I'm hoping this can all be wrapped up and we can start installing them late spring. If it doesn't work in spring, it'll be at the end of all season. So
At the end?
I like to have it before, but we'll see how that project carries on. It's slated to be before the season starts.
It may be at the availability of a certain type of a digger truck.
That's right. Yeah. And poles should be pretty easy to get, I imagine, but yeah.
Okay. And how do you see this working out when the lights are in? If somebody wants to use the lights, would there be a fee for it? Or?
I haven't given that part too much thought, to be honest, but not saying it can't be done. We can arrange some kind of fee. Of course, if they want to play later at night, one way of doing it is just charge for that field at a higher price than what we would usually charge.
I guess once we figure out what the meter pricing will be for a given amount of time.
Right. Then we could add that into the price of renting that field. So it's just one set price, whether you're renting it during the day or renting it during night hours.
One of the things that I see that may work here is on like the Vegreville Blue Jays schedule, and on that league, a lot of rainouts and stuff, they may want to play some non-home games of their teams here. If we could facilitate it under their lights, and we'd, you know, at some point we would have to say, well, we could, no problem, but this is what it costs to turn the lights on or something.
Right. There has to be a cost associated with it, I would think, to make it worth our while. But I think by adding those lights and bullhorns on there, should start to draw people in here. So.
Yeah. Any questions on that? Have you spoke to ATCO
Early mid-January, but I haven't been in touch since. I was just waiting for that last quote to get the information to them. So.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. So when you're reaching out to them too, I know that on our PLT side, like our service point side, there is a donation that they pulled out. I don't know the exact amount, but they do have a check waiting for us. They're going to donate some funds towards the project, as well as then when we're looking for the time and the labor, they're going to be able to facilitate that as well. So I don't have it on me or anything, but they did tell me it's waiting. So
Good.
Well, maybe Councilor Curtis can line up a meeting with you and ATCO and himself, and we can sort of figure out where we're at with that.
That would be awesome if you take that initiative, please.
Excellent.
Moving forward, we're still on the ball diamonds. We have our bleacher replacement. So they've been ordered. As soon as they come in, we'll get them installed before the season starts, is my hope there, so. It'll probably come under, a little bit under budget, about 13,000, I think, all said and done. But I'm hoping to use the other two and maybe get some cement pads poured down and bolt the bleachers right to the cement.
Excellent. Any questions on the bleachers? Right. Welcome, Councilor Worla.
Again, we're still on the ball diamonds. The last ball diamond fencing, it's a regular budget item. So we'll be replacing the fencing around the last field. So, and that costs about 15,000.
There's a fence there now, but it's,
Yeah, it's tattered and beat up. We've been replacing one every couple of years. So.
okay. Excellent.
Still in facilities and moving on to the post office. This is a budgeted item as well at the moment. We did apply for a grant. So I'm just waiting to hear the status back on that before we start. But it's probably, we should hear something back by early summer, late summer before we start this project, so.
Go ahead, Councilor Rudick.
So I'm just curious about this project. When you say the grant, is it for accessibility to the building?
Yeah, I believe that was the grant we applied for. Leslie? Yes.
Okay. And I'm curious, just because the way that the ramp is currently set up isn't actually very usable or accessible. When is the contractor the one that would determine the best way to be able to access the building, or if there's an alternate way to be able to provide a ramp potentially alongside and then coming up to the front of the building? Who ultimately decides something like that?
Right now, it was just to fix what we have, was that quote. If we want to look at tearing it all down and doing something different, we'd have to go out there and reach again and see what a contractor would charge us to do.
So again, I think where Councilor Rudick's going, will there be consultation with persons with disabilities, with certain architects that design this type of?
Can definitely reach out, yeah. I think that's a great idea, actually, so.
Your idea, it's not mine.
Wasn't my idea, it's still a good idea.
Well, it's not very user-friendly for anybody that has mobility issues.
Just the front entrance isn't very
No,
friendly whatsoever.
not even for those that are completely able-bodied. But I guess my concern here is that when we brought this up during budget too, is that it's a perpetual repair. Those stairs are always a real challenge to maintain, and they're highly utilized. So we just want to make sure that whatever we're putting in is also durable and user-friendly. So just curious and making sure that we're trying to meet both of those goals.
In the next update, we can bring that all to you, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, we're in facilities still, Public Works washroom upgrade. We're hoping to start late spring. It is a budgeted item. For 15,000, we'll probably use all of that, so. Haven't started, we just started looking at some supplies and what we want to do, so. That'll be our own guys doing the majority of it.
And what's in place there? This is at Public Works now. Is there a shower facility for employees and stuff there now?
There is a shower facility. There is one of those ugly old round
yeah.
hand washing machines you step on that doesn't work. And I don't think they even use the shower facility. Dale, maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, there's a bay for the women's washroom. The problem we have is that when the building was built, it was for very few female staff, and that's changed in our department, and there's just no room for them, for their coveralls, for their boots, it's not, so we're expanding that out to give them some more room. We've got some file rooms that we've emptied out, scanned those documents. They've gone into our digital file set, so we've emptied that room out to give Dan some more options as to how we can expand to where.
Any questions on that project? Okay. Keep moving.
Perfect. We're still in our facilities, at the security walls at the IP&D and FCSS. And budgeted items, contractor is ready to rumble. I believe he's gonna start down below in IP&D early next week or late the following week. So, just waiting for some supplies to come in. Once that gets all in here, he'll be building those security walls and they'll be good to go by hopefully the end of summer, so, start of summer. Shouldn't be that long. No questions. Just how I like it. Just kidding. So we got our parks, rec, and facilities. These are our parks, like Pasanka Park, gazebo, and flower garden upgrade. Again, it'll be late spring before we start this. It is budgeted for 25,000, and gonna say it's gonna come pretty close to that. So
Go ahead, Councilor.
Can you describe again what's entailed in that project?
So it is the gazebo closest to the road, so toward the hospital on the other side of the pond. And we want to look at strengthening that, ripping out all those junipers and putting some kind of display out there. Probably flower pots and gravel. What I'm thinking is maybe even tap into our museum, steal a piece of machinery, stick that out there as well. Kill two birds with one stone, so.
So on the gazebo side, we're not replacing the one that we tore down that was built by the Kinsmen many, many years ago.
No,
We're
not
just
at this
re-
present time.
We're just repairing and bringing something back there closer to the hospital.
Yep. So something that I think people will start to use and like, right? Right now, the junipers are so high and full of garbage and bugs and wasps that no one ever uses that.
Any questions? Okay, carry on.
That brings me to our next thing in parks is our pump track. Again, we're gonna start this in spring. The estimated budget is $5,000. That's, we budgeted for. It'll be in-house. We'll try to build a grade up and take the water away from there, so.
And will we be seeding around the track itself?
Plan is to put some dirt down and build it up and then topsoil and seed everything, yeah. Like to seed up along the sides of each turn and ramp as well, so we're not losing our clay when it rains.
Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully everybody on that block over there is watching and know that it's not just gonna be left in weeds all year.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely won't be.
We appreciate that.
Next is our tree replacement. We started that already. For those of you who don't know, down 49. We've been removing dead trees and the elms that had to be removed. An elm can only be removed in fall and winter, so this is why we're doing it here. Plus, we also get a great deal from our local guy. And that's gonna come in right at close to $20,000, so. The plan is when we cut them down in the spring, we'll grind out the stumps and plant something where we cut down. I don't just wanna cut trees down, I wanna replace whatever we're cutting down and removing.
So are the old trees gonna end up at the RV park as firewood?
Would you believe it or not, they barely took anything away. The residents came and claimed
Oh,
all
yeah.
of that wood instantly, so they didn't have to do too much hauling.
Perfect. Any questions on the tree removal and we will be planting trees?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say thank you to our staff for sharing the information with the public. Have you had a lot of feedback from people about the removal?
No, last time it was a little bit hectic. This time, making them aware, dropping off letters, going right to their houses worked great. So, showing them what we're actually doing and letting them know we're replacing what we take out. I think that's a big step. Is whatever we remove, we should replace. So,
Okay,
moving on, excellent. Our zero-turn mower. This was 15,000 of this budget was carried over from last year where we tried to lease one. Just didn't work out. They didn't have what we needed, so we carried that 15,000 over. You guys approved another 30,000. The machine's been ordered. It should come in under budget. It's just gonna take a couple more months to get here, so.
and the old zero turn that we have now, are we still keeping it, holding it back, or?
We can probably keep it for now and see. It's always good for a backup, right? The worst case situation is we need one, we need one.
So the dealership that we're buying this from, if it was to have a major problem under warranty, they would bring something else to us, do you think?
I didn't ask that question, but that's something that we'll definitely find out. Usually they're pretty decent, so.
Any questions on the mower? Okay.
Going into our swimming pool, our diving board. That has been ordered and should be here by late spring. There is possibly a potential of $5,000 in grants coming our way too for that, so. Once it gets here, we'll install it.
So Western Financial would like to sponsor that, and they would have their name on the board?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Put a plaque on the side of the, yeah.
Plaque or a sticker?
Have to be a plaque. Sticker won't really last too well there, so. And then we have our Whibbit. That should be coming in the next week, so.
And you have a place to store it?
Definitely have room there to store it, yes, sir. It comes in a little bit under budget, so.
Should be interesting, inflating it and taking it down and trying to put it away.
Yeah, it's gonna take probably 45 minutes to an hour to inflate. But if we build our schedule around it properly, for example, a Friday night, we'll have a Whibbit swim maybe for a public swim, set that up. Friday night, and then when we do our pool rental Saturday morning, there's an option, people can use it, it'll already be blowing up, just sitting on the side, and then for the first public swim out of the 2 on Saturday, put the Whibbit back in. And the last one, deflate it and pack it away.
Should be interesting.
It's gonna be paid, but
You can all participate in our video we'll be making about the Whibbit, and you can all go for a run on it and see what happens.
Excellent.
that's encouraging.
Council and big bathing suits.
Okay, that looks like the first part of yours.
Jump out of the way here.
Okay, so next up, community engagement and economic development. And I think Lane will be taking care of this one.
If I could, Your Worship, I just wanted to set the stage prior to Lane, of course, our community engagement coordinator, delivering her presentation. So given that our department doesn't have a lot in terms of major expenditures or major purchases like an IP&D or like a parks, recreation, and facilities, and given that this was our department, it was our first budget year, relatively new department, 1 year in, we felt maybe it would be pertinent. This would be a good opportunity to reintroduce you to the team. Obviously, you've seen and heard from Lane. She manages a lot of our communications efforts. Unfortunately, Michelle, our tourism coordinator, is not here today. She's at a conference, so I'll handle her presentation. With that in mind, and before I throw it to Lane, I will let you know that the items that we did ask for in budget, our updates are in your packages. So if we have any questions about any of those, I'll be certainly happy to answer it. So with that being said, I'll let Lane take the floor.
Nice introduction.
I know. Okay,
And you're gonna have to get a PR person.
okay, so like you said, I'm just gonna do a bit of a review from last year about everything we did for like communications, marketing, social media stuff. So next slide, please. So to start with Vegreville.com, in 2023, we had an 8% increase in views to the website with just over 80,000 views. And we also had our best month that we've ever had, we're pretty sure, in June with over 9,000 views to the website. Next slide. Okay, and so for social media, last year we posted over 2,000 times to our main platforms. The main platforms I'm talking about are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And this is around a 17% increase from 2022. And our engagement rate and our reach, pretty similar numbers to 2022, but still in a really good range. And our total impressions last year were 2.4 million, which is up from 2.2 million in 2022. And we also gained over 600 followers across these platforms last year, and we ran 43 paid social media ads. Next. And just to quickly touch on YouTube, our views to our channel in 2023 were over double what they were in 2022, which is great. Next. Okay, so I just wanted to do a bit of a comparison of our social media program versus a couple of municipalities of a similar size to ours, just to kind of see how we size up in comparison. The reason I chose ones that were same populations, obviously, because they are more likely to have a similar size like team of people running their social media accounts. So just based on the data that I looked at, we are definitely exceeding our municipal comparators in regards to follower count and also how often that we're posting. Even compared to the town of Bonnyville, they may be posting a bit more than us, but their follower count is significantly lower than ours. And obviously, like, I don't see their full stack of analytics. I can't see their reach and their impressions and that kind of stuff, but this stuff it's important to use for comparison because it shows that we definitely are keeping our audience informed on these platforms, and we're posting very consistently, which is why we've been able to grow our social media channels. So next.
So I'm meeting probably with the mayor of Bonnyville tomorrow. I can use this as a bragging right over her, right?
You can.
Nice.
I don't know.
You don't want to poke the bear, though, then they're going to start posting more.
And this is also something that I just wanted to talk about quickly as well. This is an example that I pulled from one of those municipal comparators. I'm not gonna say who, but this is our dog license post next to one of theirs. I just wanted to show this because this is another thing that I observed that we do better, I'll say, than our municipal comparators, because our consistency in regards to like colors, fonts, logos, we have a link, a call to action, and our posts comparatively, it's just a little bit more professional, I think, objectively speaking. I'm not trying to like put down another town's social media.
But if you were going to, you'd be doing a good job.
You don't know whose it is.
Oh, it's Bonnyville. I can hardly wait.
Unconfirmed. But it's just, this is important because higher quality content, it gets pushed out on social media platforms more often than lower quality content. And also this is important too because every time that we post, it's a marketing opportunity for our town. So we don't just want to like throw just anything up on our social media platforms. We want to make the time and effort to like stick to our branding and just make it look professional and nice. So yeah, next. Okay, and then just quickly, I'll talk about a little bit more traditional advertising. So last year for radio, we had a Talk of the Town segment almost every single week. We ran a few radio advertising campaigns. This department in particular, we put in 22 advertisements in the local newspaper. And then we also did a few select print ads, so the Bisanka Festival program, Kinsman Directory, the Heritage Classic program we had an ad in, and then we also did 16 media releases last year too.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but the advertising in the program at the Heritage Classic, we've seen the next couple of days a big increase in people checking out.
Yeah, there was a huge spike to our economic development website. Yeah. Next. Okay, so now I'll talk about this year. So this year we're going to be doing a professional content creation project. So this summer we have a media crew coming to capture content of our major summer events and amenities. So like our spray park, mini golf, the boats at the egg park, all that kind of stuff. We also are hoping to get some grant funding for that project. So in December, we applied for the Small Community Opportunity Grant for that project. And I'm also planning on seeing if I can apply for a Travel Alberta grant, the Rural Development and Promotion Fund as well. I'm just waiting for that application to open up. Yep, so, and then we're also gonna be continuing to work with departments on like public education stuff always. So for example, last year we did a lot of what goes where posts for like our recycling and garbage, which went over pretty well. So we definitely want to keep doing stuff like that this year. And then also to kind of go to my next slide, we're going to be doing a lot of concentrated marketing on our town-owned lands. Okay, so to end off kind of with choosevegreville.com, we've kind of decided that we are going to use the website traffic to choosevegreville.com as a metric basically to kind of measure our marketing, since we're going to be doing a lot for Prosperity Park this year. So just to review, in 2023, we increased our website traffic to choosevegreville.com by 50%, which is great. We worked a lot on that website to make it as easy as possible for like an investor to find relevant information. And recently this year we created an incentives page that has all of our town incentives, and you're able to apply for them right on the website right there, and also links to like provincial and federal funding there as well. So that's great. And our goal this year is very ambitious. We'd like to reach 50,000 views to choosevegreville.com. So, yep, it's a very ambitious goal, but how we're gonna try to do that is by primarily doing a lot of marketing for Prosperity Park. Already this year we've had digital advertising going on, which has been driving traffic to that website, and I believe the current one that we're doing right now is going to be going until the end of this month. We also had an ad in the, the NHL All-Stars program, and then I just submitted an ad to Business Expansion magazine last week. So that kind of stuff we'll be doing throughout the year, so like digital, select print media, and then for a big one, we're going to be doing a billboard ad campaign from the beginning of May through to the end of September for Prosperity Park. So yeah, it's going to be a busy year, and yeah, that's my presentation.
Where do you think the location of that billboard will be?
Oh, did I not say? Oh, I thought I did. Sorry. It'll be right by the Edmonton International Airport, right in Nisku there.
As you're driving down Highway 2.
Yes. Yep.
That will get a lot of viewers.
It will.
Well, any questions? Go ahead.
More comment than anything. I think that looks great. It's great to see that. And I just know from some of the work that I do that they are proving time and again that you have like 3 seconds. They used to give a lot more time, but it's literally like 3 seconds to grab attention. And that most people that read headlines on an article, sometimes, I shouldn't say most, but they're saying it's actually practically 50-50 that won't read the story, and that more people will read or look at only the picture. So I think that's great how you did it. If we looked at those two ads, one looked to me like a lost dog ad versus saying exactly what it is. So it's great to see.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Councilor Riddick.
Well, this is great. I've been around on council from a time when we didn't even have social media, and so it was a very big contentious foray to decide that we were going to actually go on Facebook and actually post. And even the increase in traffic to Choose Vegreville, I mean, I think that's maybe 4 staff members ago that was started as a website. And so to be able to have a goal of reaching 50,000 touches onto that website alone is ambitious, but I think it's great. And the location of the billboard certainly will be beneficial. And had a visitor to Vegreville this weekend, and again, it was very easy to be able to demonstrate that there's been a lot of things happening in Vegreville over the last number of years, and it's great to be able to share that with people that can't be here. So thank you for being a consistent, reliable source of information to the community. It's great to see.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Councilor Curtis.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's well done. I'm excited for this. I know the reach of social media and what it can bring, so very well presented. Everything looks good. I like all the stats going up, which just keep building on it, right? So.
Well, good job.
Thanks.
I know that this is the way that you market today, and I can hardly wait to talk to the mayor of Bonnyville tomorrow.
Okay.
She'll take FICO. No, hopefully she might be online, but the meeting's in Murnum. Hopefully she'll be there. Oh, it's gonna be so good.
Let me know how that goes. All right.
Thank you very much, Lane.
Thank you.
With that, Your Worship, I do have a bit of a presentation that Michelle had prepared before she went on conference, and I can breeze through that. And I realize now that these presentations are not in your agendas, and I will make sure that they're emailed to you after the meeting. I apologize for that. So, with that being said, trying to switch over here. This is again prepared by our tourism coordinator, and as you know, most in this room will recall, but to quote Mr. Mayor, for those tuning in, the Community Engagement and Economic Development Department is economic development, marketing, communications, and tourism. And tourism is obviously a very big part of what we do. So in 2023. In terms of some of the data, this is our year-over-year comparison since our department took the helm of this. Obviously, we were down a little bit in 2023 compared to 2022 when it came to visitors tracked roaming at the park, from 82,000 to just over 64,000. I think a big part of that, we noticed a substantial dip during the construction, which, it needed to be done. I'm happy it's done, but I'm also happy it's over. One of the things that we did notice, which was it bucked the trend a little bit. Our walk-ins to the Vic were tracked at 31,328 people. And despite the fact that we had lower numbers roaming in the park, that's in 2023 higher than the walk-ins to the Vic of 25,621. So we had more foot traffic coming in than we did in 2022. Year-over-year comparison when it comes to some of the activities at the Vic, borrowed bikes, about the same. We lent a few more bikes than we did in 2022. In 2023, 122. Borrowed boats, those were down, but there was a chunk of the summer season that did not cooperate. You can ask our friends in the construction field. A lot of rain. So we lent 393 boats in the summer of 2023 as opposed to the summer of 2022's 553. And finally, mini golf without any advertising, and this does not include the Alberta Day event, which probably saw over 100 and some try our mini golf. We had 356 from the very end of July through to mid-September. We did not advertise it. We did not promote it. We did that on purpose because our obstacles that were designed for each hole were on delay. So we just soft launched it, worked out the kinks, and word of mouth spread as it does, and we still did okay in that regard as well. In terms of who's coming to see us, it's pretty interesting. This information comprised from visitor interaction, engagement, as well as guest book signatures. So 83% of our visitors are from Canada, but we had 8.2 from the United States, 5.8% from Europe, and 3% from other. In terms of where in Canada they're visiting from, we obviously have a lot of staycations, if you want to call it that, 3.75% from Alberta. Surprising to see the number from Ontario. That's a pretty big chunk. In fact, it is the second highest at 17.3%. British Columbia in third at 16%. And then visitor stats in terms of where in Alberta they're from. Northern Alberta leading the way. So again, that kind of speaks to maybe that staycation. Well, beg your pardon, the Edmonton area. And the Edmonton area is defined as, your Sherwood Parks, your St. Albert's, Edmonton, obviously. 41.1% from that neck of the woods. And then Northern Alberta at 31.9, Southern Alberta at 18.4, and then Calgary at 8.5. We held some new events in the park in 2023. The big one was the Canada Day, the Party in the Park, Color Run, Kids Fun Zone, all that stuff. It would have been great, except for the rain. 231 Color Run registrants. It was a lot of fun, and this was a really well-executed event. We had 27 market vendors. We had passports to encourage attendees to some of those markets. We had entertainment set up, both live and a DJ. We were going to do a bingo, and much to the dismay of two ladies that sat in the rain all night, we had to cancel it. They were not happy. I offered them the prizes to make amends. And as this notes, that due to inclement weather, we had to cancel and end the event early, but we did manage to, at the very least, get those fireworks into the sky at around 11 o'clock. The Alberta Day event was also new, and this was paid for by a provincial grant to celebrate Alberta Day. It featured a movie in the park, free popcorn, and we worked in conjunction with the Ag Society for the Pesica Park Farmers Market. It was, very well attended, and we also had a display from our friends over at the Vegreville Visual Artists. So we're definitely looking forward to doing that again, provided that the government of Alberta will put that grant forward. And the very Vegreville Christmas. This obviously not new, but we did see a bit of a shift in terms of how we operated slightly, mainly because of availability of some of our facilities. So we moved our pictures with Santa post-parade to the main concourse of the Aquatic Center. It was a matter of, this is really the only spot we could get. I believe the social center was booked for, I think it was a wedding. There was something going on in the library gymnasium. But it did actually make for a very busy, and I think Santa would attest to this, very busy few hours taking photos post-parade. We also teamed up with the Rangers. They offered a promotion for the youngsters. We had help from the Rotary Interact Club. They helped kids write letters to Santa, pictures with Santa. The library was also involved. This was a true community collaboration, and yeah, we're certainly looking forward to making it bigger and better next year. And then in terms of things that, in general that were accomplished, we incorporated for the first time an online booking system for the campground. First phase of mini golf, planned the first Canada Day. The interaction and installation of a digital kiosk quick tourist booth. We'll talk more about that in a second. The Alberta Day. We did have our conceptual drawings for the Vic replacement project done. We presented those to our Tourism Advisory Board. We have another set of drawings as well that we'll be presenting at our next Tourism Advisory Board. So we have two potential specs, if you will. Lights for the Winter Wonderland, the first phase installed, and we added 2 new members to the Vegreville Tourism Advisory Board with 8 meetings held throughout the year. Getting back to that digital kiosk, this is pretty impressive. We initially had it at the Visitor Information Center, and it arrived mid-July. So from mid-July to end of season, we had about 2,500 people use that kiosk, which has 28 shopping destinations in terms of local. These are Vegreville-based businesses, 21 restaurants, 21 sports organizations and clubs, 16 community spaces, 7 to 8 outdoor spaces, 7 things to do in town, be it bowling, the movie theater, the golf course, 6 lodging options, and 3 transportation. And it's important to note that we worked on this and did not charge any of the businesses to be a part of this campaign. We put their information up on this kiosk free of charge, just so that the visitors to our community understand what we have to offer them. What's really impressive is post-closure of the Vic, we didn't want this system to sit idly by, so we moved it to the arena. Some of you may have seen it, and big thanks to Dan for his assistance in helping us set that up. Since it's moved, it's up to 16,620 impressions, and an impression isn't just someone touching the screen. It actually, you have to interact with it for at least 7 clicks and like 10 seconds. So these are tangible numbers. It's not just someone and then walking away, right? But it's, a cool feature that we're offering local businesses, we're offering local organizations, absolutely free of charge, just so we can help spread the message about what Vegreville has to offer outside of our popular areas that they automatically draw a crowd. Can we send them somewhere else? That's the mission. And then in terms of things that are coming up, paddle boats, the electrical installation near Putt-Putt, the completion for phase 2 of Putt-Putt, implementation of hard ice cream sales, continued engagement with partners like Go East of Edmonton, Travel Lakeland, Travel Alberta, the Tourism Industry Association of Alberta. We'll get ready to train our summer staff. Hard to believe that's just around the corner. We'll plan the Canada Day event and the Alberta Day event, and then get ready for phase 2 of Winter Wonderland. So there's a bit of a summation of Michelle's department in tourism. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer.
Who wants to go first?
Awesome.
I do have a question, James.
Sure.
Do the local businesses, lodging centers, and everybody know that we have this quickie system in place?
Well, some of them might. So one of the things that this department undertook was a monthly newsletter. We took the emails that we had on file for 240-something businesses, and we distribute a monthly economic development newsletter. And in that newsletter, it was featured in one of those. Michelle has actually reached out to a few of the businesses to get their information. Now, it has to pertain to tourism. So, for instance, with all due respect to, let's say, a glass replacement shop, that probably doesn't necessarily fall into this criteria. But those that are a part of this have received some sort of recognition either from Michelle, or they would have been made aware through the newsletter as we were compiling the information and putting it together. Or it kind of went by the wayside and maybe they don't know. The hope would be that they understand and they appreciate that, you know, we're doing it for the good of the community too.
Excellent. I thought maybe people might want to advertise on that.
Well, we're not quite there yet, but man, with those numbers, you could.
Okay, we'll start here and we'll go to you.
I feel like, in the good old days is what I'm striking the theme, but really, what a vast demonstration of maturity in terms of sharing our information. I mean, there was a time when we were trying to, as a tourism board, get a stand to share pamphlets in the hotels or in the arena to be able to share information. So this is fantastic, and I really appreciate the fact that we've got some data and statistics to be able to build upon. So thank you very much. It's obvious that we're concentrating on some very specific areas and looking forward to seeing those grow.
Councilor World.
Just a follow-up point sort of to what you said about the businesses. I think sometimes when we're discussing budgetary items and we talk about tourism, you know, I know for myself, I've heard back from residents sometimes, because sometimes when we're talking about a budgetary spend, they will say, well, why are we doing this? Assuming that it's just for people who are using it that are outside of our community, which of course isn't true. It's open to our residents as well. And we will talk about bringing in people to the community to showcase Vegreville. But I think we can't stress enough the importance of that tourism bringing people in, not only for us potentially to sell Vegreville as a place to live, but even for those that are literally treating it on a tourist side. It is one of our steps, and it's a planned, deliberate step to support our businesses. So I just think that's important for us not to lose, because sometimes we will hear that ask, you're putting in this and we're spending some money on it, but it's for people coming through and using it at wherever it be, the Pesica Park. But those people that are coming in are supporting our businesses, and maybe they're liking Vegreville and staying as well. But I just think tourism sometimes becomes a thing in many budgets that is that last thing to look at, or that thing that a lot of smaller communities can't branch out to, and it's such an important factor. So that's all.
Okay, I'll go ahead, Councilor Bullock.
Very good job by the tourism department there. Tourism, very important for the businesses, just a spin-off from everybody that's coming into town. And just going to that kiosk, just going through that and just seeing what's there, what's happening on social media, and the talk, and just increasing people's time to stay in town all makes a difference for the business going forward. Good job, and I think it's fantastic to continue as such.
Well, it looks like I come away unscathed, but the full marks 100% need to go to my team. They're fantastic, and I'm absolutely blessed to be surrounded by some hard workers. So thank you, Council.
Do you have any more in your presentation?
That's it. Again, I will email you your presentations. I apologize that they weren't in your packages. And then if you have any questions as it pertains to some of the progress reports on the budgeted asks, I'd be more than happy to go into it. But again, we just don't have those major expenditures. We have nothing exciting as a whippet or a zero-turn mower.
Well, I have some other stuff here.
Absolutely.
Your wayfinding, sports and events, hosting grant, the paddle boats.
Sure. I can go. I have them here, so if you'd like to. I know that I don't want to steal any more of anybody's time, but I'll very quickly hint on some of the things we asked and give you updates.
Dan's got all the time in the world right now. So.
Okay. I kind of knew that about Dan. I was referring to the 7 on stage, but the professional marketing content creation, we'll start there. That was one of the things we asked for, and Lane hinted at it in her presentation. We asked for $25,000, and this would cover several trips throughout the summer months to our community with drones, with professional photographers, with professional videographers, and then they were going to take all of that footage and piece it together for marketing videos that we'll be able to use for the next several years. As much as I would love to say that, you know, I've got an eye for photography, and we did purchase a very small, I'll call it rinky-dink drone in our department this year. It's not intended to be the professional and high-end photography. So with that in mind, we're looking forward to that. We have applied for a grant. And we're looking to apply for a second. Cost to date so far is $5,000, and that was to secure the contract with that third-party team. They're based out of Edmonton. Next would be the council chamber streaming system diagnostic check. We're on track in the sense that we are engaging right now with a company by the name of Matrix. As of course you are aware, it was last January that the company that installed what makes this go to YouTube and our video and our audio closed their doors without letting anybody know. And we were kind of left in the lurch for about a month. So we're going to have these guys come in. They're going to assess what we have. But the big part about this is making sure that if something goes awry, we have someone to call, because there was very, very frustrating not having someone to lean on. And even our IT people that deal with our computers, this was out of their scope. So we need to engage with that company, and we're presently doing that. We're hoping for a site visit at the end of February. In terms of advanced advertising and marketing, we talked a little bit about that, or at least Lane did. Q1's marketing and advertising has commenced with a heavy focus on print and digital. To date, we've spent about $15,000 of the asked for $65,000. Prosperity Industrial Park ad was featured in the NHL's All-Star Game program, as well as Invest in Vegreville ad and editorial is going to be featured in the February 2024 edition of the Business Expansion Journal. Also, digital ad campaign running, and visits or page views to choosevegreville.com during Q1 campaign, the one that's underway right now, is up 224% from December of 23. And the next step is securing, and we've locked in with Pattison Media on that space along Highway 2 near EIA for the billboard. And we'll also run digital ads married to that campaign. Paddle boats. This was a budgeted ask. We asked to $17,000, and we're expecting arrival late March, early April. Unfortunately, it's going to run us $1,500 more than we initially anticipated, and that's because of shipping costs. Shipping costs, even from when we were originally dialoguing in early November, and then again in late December, when we went to go lock in mid-January, they had gone up slightly, and there was not much we could do. And another cost was that we realized that the covers we have for the boats presently would not fit these new ones, so we had to have this company make custom ones. But again, hoping for an arrival of late March, early April. Vic and Ansman ice cream sales. The good news is that with the $1,500 being over budget on the boats, we saved money in the purchase of our dipping cabinet freezer, because we found money in 2023 that we put to that purchase. So that's been purchased, and then the next step would be to start those enhancements to the Vic. We're going to do that in March to make sure we're ready by the opening of May. Wayfinding signage, this project is on hold. It's still going to forge ahead. We're still dialoguing with our consultant, but we're waiting to find out if we get our NRED grant. As we discussed in budget, I had asked for $150,000, but a good chunk of that would be covered by the NRED grant. If we do not get the grant, we'll have to reassess the project. The price to the taxpayer will drop to $90,000. So it's hard for us to progress without knowing exactly how much we can do this year. So we'll know in March of 2024 is what the province has told me. Electrical installation near Pesica Putt-Putt. Not yet started. Mid-spring, April is when we're hoping to start. Our budget for that is $10,000. We just need the snow to melt and get some cooperation from Mother Nature. We're kind of at the mercy of the weather conditions for that one. And finally, the sports and event hosting grant. We brought this to our internal economic development committee meeting in January, and we discussed some of the components when it comes to the criteria for successful applicants. And one of the things that was discussed was lowering the per grant amount from $2,500 to $1,500, thereby allowing 5 recipients as opposed to 3. And we also talked about some of the other parameters. For instance, you have to use local hotels. You have to bring 100 people to your to this event, whether it's participants or spectators. And it has to be at least a 2-day event, meaning you will use a local hotel. You will have people in our restaurants. And we're hoping to officially promote and launch this incentive by the middle of this month, because I know that some tournaments coming up that they've already gotten wind of this, and they're asking if it's going to be coming down the pike. So that's what we've got on for 2024. And if you have any questions, feel free.
Okay. Start, Councillor Bullock.
Actually, not so much questions, but more excitement and a buzz about it, just coming out of it, just hearing it, and just getting this information out to the public. It has a positive spin on it for sure, so I see good things happening with all of it.
Okay, so Jameson, we're ordering these paddle boats. Have we identified certain wear parts that may be something that we need to replace, and if we could have them throw in some of these wear parts instead of trying to have some built or something later down the road?
Well, so one of the issues that we've faced over the last few years in terms of the paddle boats, and again, I am not a mechanic, and I refuse to play one even on TV, but the pedals especially, and the mechanism that would connect it to the thing that makes it go forward.
Paddle, yeah.
Thank you.
Here, yeah.
The paddle. I've never professed to be very mechanically inclined. That was one of the sticking points for the paddle boats that we had. There is a 5-year warranty on our paddle boats as we're bringing these ones in. So if any of that goes, we just order a new part.
How far away do you think the park?
They're based out of Minnesota.
Okay. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, we would be at the mercy of waiting, unfortunately, but I don't want to order new parts if there's a 5-year warranty, because now we're paying for parts that we don't necessarily need or might not. These are commercially rated boats, and unfortunately the ones that we had in the water over the last few were not. They were never intended for the use and the wear and tear. I mean, it's a good thing. People like the boats, but they were just never intended to be on the water and be used that much. And I think that was one of our sticking points.
And what is the method you're going to get rid of the old boats with?
Well, I think we can convert them into
We
a
can
car.
say that they're still a good boat. We don't have to say the sticking point that, you know, they can put new axles in them. So
Well,
a lot heavier than what they came with.
You're certainly a salesperson, Your Worship. I honestly have not given that too much thought. Part of me wouldn't mind hanging on to one of them as a just in case. I believe we're down to 2 or 3. I can't remember what's exactly in the inventory. Michelle would be able to answer that question better. But no, to answer your question, or to not answer it, I have not given it much thought, but I sure wouldn't mind hanging on to one just in case. Something has transpired to your mics up there. I wonder if somebody's unplugged a cable.
Sorry, again, lots of exciting things to look forward to here in terms of delivery. I think 2024 is going to be an exciting year. Just going to the sports and events hosting grant. When we discussed this previously, it's for sports organizations, volunteer organizations, but it also could be schools. Both school systems will have completed all of their tournaments for the year in a couple weeks. So I'm just curious, you won't be keeping any of this back just based on the timeline. So I'm wondering, I don't know, I actually don't know if there's going to be provincials or anything like that for both of the schools.
There is provincials. That's one of the tournaments that's already gotten wind. The St. Martin's is hosting basketball provincials.
Okay, great.
So they've already. My son plays on the composite basketball team, and they played against each other. And I was accosted when I walked in there by their team, asking, "Hey, when's this coming down the pike?" So the hope would be that we automatically get a chance to showcase it, because that's certainly something that would be eligible. I mean, they've already booked both the hotels in town. It's going to be a major event.
That's
There's
great.
going to be some other criteria that come along with it, but when I was discussing it with the individual I was discussing it with, she said it would be not a problem to be able to hand out some of the town of Vegreville marketing material that would come along with that for us.
Awesome. Okay, it's great.
Did you?
Well, that was mainly my question, just was on that, and you guys also may have this figured out, but I just kind of wondered whether, if we've said whether it's a opening and like first come, or whether we have an opening and closing time and then be reviewing it. It is very difficult sometimes, because I know things happen at different times of the year, or even if we were talking about something like, I'll pick on the hockey, if they were hosting a provincials, they make a bid for it in the fall but don't find out till January. So I'm just kind of wondering if we have any criteria around that, or we're going to kind of use year one as a pilot and then potentially adjust.
Yeah, you nailed it. Year one is definitely going to be a bit of a feel-out process, because this is the first time we've done it. My thought process, because I did also think about hockey and even the schools, when you have to put in an application for provincials. I mean, if you're bringing provincials to our community, that is a huge economic boost for a few days. And if we were to be able to offer these groups some sort of a guarantee that if you get provincials, you will get this money. If you do not, you'd have to relinquish the grant. That's sort of what I'm thinking about, because it'd be nice for them to know they have access to these funds in their application, but just because they've applied doesn't necessarily mean they'll get to host, right? But I wouldn't want to give that group, let's say $1,500, and then they don't end up hosting. It seems like sort of a, I don't want to call it a waste, but it's money that probably could have been diverted somewhere else. So to ensure that they can probably rely on the funding, yes, if you get your provincials, because you've applied for this in the fall, we would then take that money out of the bank, essentially, and just tuck it off to the side and wait for their final approval.
Good. Excellent. I think that'll just be, a little bit of encouragement for different groups to try their best to try to host some tournaments here. And again, I mean, the department is really pushing hard to get the economic spin-offs for, hopefully all those businesses that benefit are watching and are putting stuff up, posting. What a great job the town of Vegreville is doing. Hopefully.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions for Jameson? Seeing none, thank you very much. And next, we'll come back to Dan Kuzmic. Oh, no, sorry. Mitch. No, it is Dan, sorry. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you again. And a little background on this. Last week of January, I received a phone call from Kara Nesbitt. She represents the Delta Waterfowl Foundation. And there's a request that they put 5 hen houses in the wetland behind St. Mary's, south of the area there, and by the bulk water station just coming in from the city. And for those of you who don't know what a hen house is, I sent a picture around up front here earlier. You can take a quick peek at it. And I didn't want to say yay or nay till we talked to you guys about it. So if it's something you wanted to do, it's a good thing. But again, Delta Waterfowl Foundation is the direct competition to Ducks Unlimited. I don't know if we have any binding ties with them right now on that wetland area or not, so.
Do you feel that it may be a conflict of interest, that we couldn't work with Ducks Unlimited if we had these other people come in?
I don't think so. I haven't reached out to Ducks Unlimited yet. I probably want to do that before I say yay or nay on my end, but if it's something you guys are interested in, I think it would be a good idea. Be something we should probably look into and move forward with. So.
Well, we should clarify something right now. the name hen house is no chickens in town.
Exactly.
This is only for ducks
Ducks.
in 2 wetland areas within our community.
Yes. Sorry, Dan. And only 5 of them in the 2 areas, right?
Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
And according to this, they would maintain everything to do with it?
Yeah, they would install them and maintain them once a year, yeah. They do have a 10-year contract, but any part can break it at any given time with no penalty, so.
Does anybody have any objections to Dan going ahead and doing a little more research? You do? Oh, go ahead.
No objection, just wondering, we have to rezone for these houses.
Multi-family dwelling.
Multi-family dwelling, yeah.
Okay, well, Dan, I don't see any objection here.
Perfect.
I think it would be we don't have an agreement with Ducks Unlimited. I mean, we would like to work with Ducks Unlimited on the southwest corner on that wetland on another project, but maybe touch base with them. This company we're talking about is out of Manitoba.
Don't want anybody crying foul.
Thank you. I think the chances are that they may have different focuses to some extent. I think that this is a project that would be a little bit different than what we'd be wanting to talk with Ducks Unlimited with. So anyway, so I don't think that there'd be a conflict. So I don't see any problem.
Okay, well, you go right ahead.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sure that when these get installed, that there'll be people out there keeping an eye on them with their binoculars, trying to figure out when the ducks will be moving in. Yeah, probably. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, Protective Services Manager, Mitch Newton.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm here today to request an amendment of the Responsible Pet Bylaw 07-2022. In a recent review of the town's bylaws, it was discovered that there was no definition of a bylaw enforcement officer, which the town now employs. If passed, the definition of peace officer will reflect all members that can enforce the bylaw for the town of Vegreville. A full review of the Protective Services bylaws is underway to ensure that bylaws are current with proper definitions and also meet the needs of the town. Your options today, Your Worship, are Town Council approve the bylaws presented at the February 12, 2024 council meeting. The council discussed amending the bylaw at the next legislative meeting that's on February 20th prior to adoption, or that council rejects the amending bylaw and provides administration with additional direction.
Okay, so Mitch, the only change that you have in there that you want to present to council right now is going with bylaw enforcement officer.
Yes, sir. So the section of the bylaw is 2.36, the definition of a peace officer. That definition now will include a bylaw enforcement officer and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, if they have to enforce any bylaws while we're unavailable.
Okay, does council want the chance to go through the whole bylaw right now? Or would you think that if this was the only change that is going to come up in the bylaw 07-2022, or do you want to have another working meeting to discuss it? Councillor Bullock?
If this is the only change, I don't think we would require another meeting to discuss it. We can go with it at the next meeting.
Councillor Ruda? Okay. Councillor Barry, have you gone through the 07-2022 bylaw?
I'll admit I haven't recently, but I don't believe there should be any real concern. We went through that pretty diligently just over a year ago. So I don't think there'd be any problem with just moving forward with getting this straightened out, because obviously we have a bylaw officer in town and he should be covered by the bylaw.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing that on Monday's meeting then.
Thank you, Your Worship.
And will we be doing all 3 readings on that change? Or is it? Okay. Keep going, Mitch.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, the other item I'm here for today is give you an update on the derelict properties of the town of Vegreville. Currently, we were dealing with 6 properties that my enforcement team and I identified and brought to council for review. The current, we've had one person comply and has removed the home from their property. The other one that we had was in council here. We had a delegation from the property owner, and council gave him a year to change the order. The other one we've been waiting for is the property at 4822 54A Avenue. That property was taken over by the province of Alberta, and province of Alberta and I have been discussing for the last 2 months on what they can do and how they can help us out. As of late Friday, they have decided we are allowed to tear down that property, the garage as well, and remove the vehicle from that property. They've also stated that they're going to be now taking over the maintenance of the grass cutting and the sidewalks there as well. And they have been put in contact with a local contractor to make sure those demands are met under our community standards bylaw. With that as well, we have taken over the property at 5521 51st Street for failed to pay for taxes. So we now own that property. That was identified on the list as well. And with those 2 properties, we'll be working diligently with our public services, our planning and infrastructure director to find out if they're able to take down those properties, or we'd have to do a contractor to remove those. And then 2 houses will now, that are left over, first one being 5713 52 Street and 4860 49th Avenue, will move ahead with the Court of King's bench order to get those removed as well.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions regarding going forward? Excellent. Thank you very much for bringing that forward.
Thank you, Your Worship.
On the one property where we're going to move forward and take the garage and remove a vehicle, and all the cost will go, the boarding up and stuff will go against the taxes on that property.
The costs that we've incurred for that property already, yes, will be placed on against the tax roll. The demolition of the current structures that are there and the removal of the vehicle, we will inform the province of what it costs, but it will likely end up on the tax roll as well. I'm unsure on whether or not the province plans on paying for that directly.
That's what I was getting at. So if they're willing to hire a contractor to do snow removal and keep the property within the limits of our bylaw, did they mention that they'd be willing to pay for the demolition as well?
No, they've asked us to provide quotes and take care of it for them, and then they stated to put it on the tax roll.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, we thank you very much, and I know there's going to be a few citizens around both of those properties right now that'll be very happy, and hopefully we can move forward on those other 2 as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, Your Worship. Thank you very much, and I hope you've seen our new bylaw officer out and about the community this past month as well. He's been doing a fine job.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And next up, we have CAO Ling.
We have director highlights, Your Worship.
Oh, I thought those were at the end, the highlights. 14, usually, Director Lefebvre. You're just ready to go. You're not used to the meetings being this long. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Your Worship.
So, if you don't mind, Director Lefebvre, can we move to CAO Ling?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I seen you down here, but there was no report. And I know that your highlights are coming later, so. Okay. Let's go with CAO Ling then, if you guys are all in favor. Okay? Here we go.
Okay, up first is a new policy, a recruitment and selection policy. So the Town of Vegreville strategic plan lists people and culture as the #1 strategic goal. In order to support town staff with recruitment, retention, and succession planning, the Town of Vegreville requires a uniform approach in how we recruit and select the appropriate candidate for each position. The senior management team has reviewed the draft policy and provided feedback that helped ensure this policy is applicable with all departments. This recruitment and selection policy is being presented to council for review purposes with the intention of discussing at the next legislative meeting on February 20th, 2024. So the options are to review the draft policy for discussion at the February 20th legislative committee meeting, or forgo the review of the draft policy and maintain current hiring practices.
Okay, so we've all had it now for a couple of days. Is there any questions regarding this new policy that you'd like to bring to CAO Ling right now? I have one.
Okay?
When we're asking for information of new hires, and so we've asked about their health issues. We have the ability to ask firefighters if they are physically fit.
We have the ability to ask for a physical if it's a requirement of their position that they're applying for. We do not have the right to ask what their, if they have any health issues.
Okay, so this is what I see as a bit of a problem. And is that just under human rights, that we cannot ask somebody if, let's say, the medicine that they may need is a lot of money and it may change our benefit plan by quite a bit?
Yeah,
We don't have that ability.
we do not have that right to ask that. That is a human right and discrimination law, yes.
Well, I know talking with other mayors and stuff, and I've told them about how much increase we've seen just on our own this year, this 1 year on our benefits program, and everybody's seeing the same thing. Wow, we have no way to protect the rest of our employees by not knowing what the cost may be to carry somebody on our benefit plan. Okay, well, that's kind of different.
Well, and I can see that being a frustration because there are other things where you do have to show what you have ahead of time. I'm not suggesting for like employments, but I mean, companies have rights to refuse you. It seems a bit of a double standard. You can be turned down to apply for certain health coverages. You can be turned down for insurance. You can be turned down for even things like death benefits and whatnot with various companies. So it's interesting that they will apply it here when it can impact so many other people. You know, it feels like a double standard. I know that is the standard. It's just, I can see where it's frustrating and is impacting our employees that we're trying to protect.
Go ahead.
I think one thing to remember though too is that insurance companies like this that we contract as an employer can also choose to not cover. So that's outside of the purview of an employer. And as an employer, we provide access to an insurance coverage, which includes myriad different supports, but the drug company can also exclude and preclude certain drug coverages. That's not uncommon.
Our benefit provider would have the right to tell us that if somebody needed a certain
No.
type of drug that they would not offer that coverage?
No,
They
sorry.
would just build it in to the payment.
There are, as far as the information that our insurance company provides us, and I'll talk about our current employees as it sits, there's drug classes. We don't know who the employee is, we don't know the specific medication. There are drug classes that they talk about, and those classes range from, like, they have different subsections, and we just know the class, and some include very expensive drugs, some include opioids, and some include other things, but we never get the ultimate, what somebody's doing or anything.
Yeah, I get that by
And-
protecting who the employee is, but we don't have the option to screen an application knowing full well what it would end up costing
No, because,
the municipality and all the other employees within the municipality.
no, and I'm not even sure that they just get, the drug class. They don't even necessarily, I'm not sure if they even know what the drug is. It's just in this one class, and that's what they get.
Sorry, Tina, is that what you meant? Because I'm confused with that there, because kind of how you had said it, I took it like you're saying, well, we provide them this, but ultimately the company still decides whether to cover them or not, but I'm just not understanding.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm certainly not an expert in it, but if, for example, there is a variety of medications that are available for a certain condition, as an employer, we don't get to determine whether or not an employee is eligible for employment based on the cost of a medication. However, when an employee comes to access the benefit plan, the benefit provider can also suggest that they must use generic rather than a brand name, or they can also not cover some prescriptions. So that's completely within the benefit plan purview to be able to determine that, and that would be between the employee and the benefit provider to have that conversation exclusive of our staff or the town of Vegreville. So I understand what your worship is saying. The challenge that I see there is that it's absolutely outside of the purview of an employer to be able to determine whether or not somebody's employable based on a pre-existing health condition. In fact, there's no way that we would be supported in asking that information before someone's employed. There's no way that that would be allowed.
Thank you for clarifying. I thought you were originally saying that maybe the company, even though we offer benefits, could say, no, we're not going to have you as a person we would cover.
They can also, I would say that they also can deny coverage. So we might hire somebody that's a fantastic employee, and if they determine, they have the right to be able to determine. Employees, I believe, can decide to not access the benefits, but the coverage can also be denied to employees too.
Have we had that happen?
I don't know.
Not that I'm aware of, but again, I'm new to this role, so I wouldn't have been privy to what's been happening in the past. My understanding is, as well, is when you buy a set benefit package, it includes X number of classes of drugs, which classes it includes. So there is potential to be lower cost benefit packages that don't include some of the classes and stuff like that. But that's all the negotiation when the employer purchases the benefit package as a whole.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think that's more so when you move to a new one, well, I guess you can do it at not any time. I guess you can go back and lower your benefits and stuff like that at your set renewal times. But then again, it comes with another set of problems and issues.
Councillor Barry.
Yes, I'll agree with most of what has been said. The aspect is you can also actually go onto the website and type in usually a search for a particular drug, and it'll tell you whether your coverage is there or not. So the aspect is a particular insurance company may insure some, but not others. And in some cases, if you take a prescription to your pharmacy and they run it, they may say, oops, you're not covered on this one, but you're covered on the generic. So it's really a matter of they don't cover, even in a class, they don't necessarily cover every one, but there are usually alternates to it. I know because I do have one that I get through a different, it's not through the town. And it's quite costly, but when they came out with a biosimilar, I had to move to the biosimilar. It's on my seniors coverage, but I had to move to the biosimilar rather than stay on the original.
Okay, and again, I ask this because I've heard other municipalities talking to their mayors and reeves about their benefit plan and saying that by hiring somebody with a pre-existing condition, how it affected everybody else within the organization. So we do not have the ability to ask that question. We do not have the ability within our coverage with our supplier to say that we are checking out of anything that costs more than this a month. We don't have that option. So if somebody was taking a synthetic heroin under a doctor's order, our coverage would cover that.
If it's part of the class of drugs and if it's one of the ones that is in our benefit package, yes, we would cover it.
Even
Or,
if
well, they would
we said
cover it.
that we have, our policy, our hiring policy says that we don't really hire somebody that's IV drug user.
We never said that.
We don't say that?
No, in fact, when we had this conversation, we talked about being a safe work site. One of the things that we talked about is the ability to be able to test, for example, if there was an incident in being able to test anybody that was, so if you're in oil field, for example, if there's an incident on site, everybody is immediately shut down and every person that's on site is expected to verify whether or not they've consumed anything. We don't have that restriction here, and I think we were told very explicitly that that's outside of our scope. We're not considered, I don't know what the definition is, but we're not considered that type of safety environment where we have to do that. I could be wrong, but I think that was very clear that I understand where you're going with your questioning, but that's not something that we can ask as an employer. I think that's pretty universal, but we were also told at the time that we updated our safety employment manual that we couldn't, there was no testing expected of anybody that's a heavy equipment operator, for example, or anybody that's been in a safety position, because that was one of the exclusions that we had talked about in terms of cannabis and alcohol usage at that time.
And I get that. But what I'm saying is, if there was an incident and somebody tested positive for an illegal substance, but if we, through our benefit plan, we're paying for a synthetic heroin for them to take into treatment, I don't get a lot of this, but I know what it could end up costing us eventually. So I don't know. Like, if we could get a little more information on our benefits, I would just like to dig a little deeper into that. And the 8.3. So basically, the manager, the CAO, will have a conversation amongst themselves about somebody that has a criminal record, just how bad of a criminal record would be, maybe keep them out of a situation that the history of their crime may not lend them to think of doing it again. Like I don't know, like.
Well, also in the human rights and the labor laws, if you have been convicted of a crime and you have, I'll use the example, sent to jail, served your time, when you're released, you still have that record. However, you are, in the eyes of the law, you've paid your penalty, you are reformed and able to continue. But you still have a record. So that's what that gets at.
People don't go to jail anymore. People just get excused. So, but within this policy or this, what you're bringing to is that the manager and the CAO would be able to determine on their own, based on the severity of the crime that they had committed, if they served time or not, or had community service, if they were employable to the town.
Well, it would depend for the position, like it goes to the position that you're hiring them for. For example, if you have been convicted of fraud, money laundering, something like that, I'm probably not going to hire you to do our bank deposits and our financials. So that's.
Okay. Go ahead.
I did have experience with this, just the one of, like, on a volunteer organization where criminal record checks were required, and we had sort of a similar policy, because unfortunately some of the things that come on are things that people didn't know they could have removed, they might have been as simple, I mean, there still could be charges, that could be an impaired style or driving charge from way years before that can show up. So I know it is a difficult one because they don't automatically come off the way people think they will at certain years. And the one in particular that was ours was more than 10 years later to a position that had nothing to do with driving at all. So I did have just one question though as well. On 5.2, and it's just an explanation of the term. It says, sorry, there it is. When it's talking about hiring will be based on, and it's talking about some of the different potential items considered discrimination. What is source of income for discrimination mean? I just didn't know what that one meant.
I'm not exactly sure. That's kind of a cut and paste from the standard hiring practices.
Okay, the rest made sense to me. I knew what they were. I just didn't know what this one meant. So
Yeah.
if we could
I can look
see that
into
for
that.
future.
I can have something for you for the next ledge meeting when we discuss this in more detail if council wants.
Okay, so we'll go through this. We'll bring it up again for any comments at our next ledge meeting. And then I would imagine you'd be looking for this recommendation to come forward with any amendments at the following council meeting.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. And I guess you're doing the metering for with ATCO, the,
Yes, okay. Attached in your agenda are some brochures and notices from ATCO. So the communication we got from ATCO is that in the coming weeks, ATCO will be visiting homes in your community to start installing advanced metering infrastructure, AMI, radio gateways and meters. These upgrades are taking place across Alberta and will allow ATCO to continue providing customers with safe and reliable electricity services. What is advanced metering infrastructure? AMI is an integrated system comprising smart meters, radio gateways that collect meter read data, communication networks, and data management systems. It facilitates two-way communications between the utilities and customers, offering a range of benefits. It offers remote power outage detection for quick response and restoration, additional energy management options for customers, digital meter reads, reducing operating costs for customers, more accurate readings and fewer site visits with remote connect and disconnect capabilities, and promotion of energy literacy and customer knowledge through increased data access via ATCO's My Electricity app and compatibility with home energy monitors. Project timeline for this is that the project will begin within the month of February 2024 and will be ongoing throughout the remainder of the year. And these are the additional supporting information for your reference, as well as if we wanted to share them on our own communication channels if desired. And there's more details about the project at ATCO's website, electric.atco.com/AMI. And any questions or concerns, they can reach out towards ATCO.
okay, and this information will be shared on the town's website.
That's one of the questions I would have for council, is if you would like us to put this forward. I know ATCO will be doing their own marketing, disseminating of the information of what they're doing around in the community. But if council's in agreement, we'll put it up on our own website as well.
Well, it's better than the police getting a call, suspicious activity
In your backyard?
in my backyard. I don't see why we wouldn't. I mean, it's helping out a partner in town with ATCO that, I mean,
Well,
not
it's just-
everybody's gonna go onto their website, or I don't know how they plan on advertising this, but, yeah. Okay, everybody's good with that? Okay, thank you. next up, we have a letter from Stry City Council. So this is one of our sister municipalities in Ukraine. So it starts, Dear Tim McPhee, thank you for your wonderful Christmas greetings. The Ukrainian people feel especially supported by Canada. We are grateful that your country has been a shelter for hundreds of thousands of our citizens during the full-scale invasion. Your support is particularly important to us, and it demonstrates your extraordinary solidarity with Ukraine. In June 2023, we sent a letter with a proposal to identify for us a contact person from the Mayor's Office of Vegreville to discuss further cooperation between our cities. Our proposal is still highly relevant today. The representative for our communications from the City of Stry is Deputy Mayor for International Cooperation, Andrei Stiles. Well, I won't even try to butcher that because may our partnership continue to develop, benefiting our communities and their residents. So, I'll pass this over to Councillor Rudick. And
On it.
nice. Leslie, how's it going?
She's waiting for me.
So the two of you got this. Nice.
The only thing I would say is if there's anybody that is interested in the public that might want to sit with us on this committee, I've got a couple of people that haven't agreed, I've asked, that are different than our originally identified volunteers to sit with us on this committee, just because they've kind of been taken with the resettling of displaced Ukrainians to the community, and they're busy with that project. So if anybody thinks of anybody that would be interested, a lot of the things that they're interested in is sharing best practices for economic development. So perhaps there's somebody that's locally based that would be interested in assisting with this project and this partnership.
Okay. Well, hopefully Leslie's Ukrainian is a little better than yours, and then we'll move forward here.
How do you know mine isn't good?
I've been in the meetings with you. You may have to get your in-laws to help you a bit. Okay, next up, and we have this on here, is a letter to Minister MacIver on the deassassination project at the Vegreville Regional Museum. So we would like to get a hold of the minister just to make sure that what we're doing is within our rights. So I'll turn it over to Councillor Barry, and he'll give us his thoughts on this.
Thank you, Your Worship. Are you wishing to read the letter, or we'll leave it as a draft for the moment?
We'll just call it in a draft for right now, yeah.
At the moment, I think it's best we leave it a draft. I think the aspect is that with the dissolving of the municipal, or with the museum, the Vegreville Regional Museum Society, when they dissolved, it left all of the artifacts and et cetera within our facility. And we have been wanting to repurpose the facility in different ways. And there's a lot of artifacts there or collections that are questionable as to the purpose of them being there. And what we really need is advice through the minister or the minister's department as to how we should proceed with the deaccessioning of these items. It seems like a strange term. When items are taken into a museum and cataloged and received to be part of the museum, they become part of the public domain, and it's called accessioning. In order to get rid of any or reduce the collection, you have to go through what's called deaccessioning. And there's a procedure to that. And what we're looking at is making sure that we follow those procedures in order that we can actually resolve the collections that we have out there sitting in our premises. And I'm quite certain that the department would be able to put us in the right direction to give us better advice and make sure how we should follow these procedures. So I think that's the purpose of drafting the letter and requesting assistance.
Okay, so is anybody not in favor of asking for a little bit of an explanation of how we are supposed to move forward from the minister himself? I mean from his office, because that's what we need right now, is just a little clarification on.
Go ahead, finish.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Your Worship, what I'll point out is in the policy that is presented by the government right now, in the last clause of it, it does give the minister the right to change the terms. So for some of the items that are in our museum that cannot really be offered to another museum, cannot be sold, and at the moment really cannot be given back, we could get permission from the minister to handle those in an appropriate manner. We can't do it without being granted that permission. So that's one of the aspects, is that though we do have the procedures, some of those procedures don't work for us.
Okay, and just to let the public know, moving forward, what our plan is from council directing the staff of the town. We're not getting rid of everything at the museum. We don't know what it's going to look like eventually. We'd like to showcase stuff that's very important to this region in different facilities, or as we build out this event center. But right now, there is so much stuff, there's so much duplication. So Councillor Barry has been documenting quite a bit of what, of the 35 typewriters that, and we know some of the procedure moving forward, that we will be offering it to local museums around here first. But we need to get in there and get a good idea of what is important, memorabilia from this region, and what we're going to keep and what we're going to offer to other museums. So, and this will be moving forward right after we receive this letter from the minister on the guidelines and on within what their thoughts are, how we can move forward. Again, this is not us getting rid of everything at the museum. There's just a lot of stuff to get that place cleaned out, to take a look at what we feel is very important to this region and how we're going to display it. Go ahead.
Well, and I think it's a good step, because we've seen this, if we take away from the issue that we're talking about here and just overall, there's often a lot of policies and acts that are created through government that aren't created necessarily with same-sized communities, but once it's passed as a regulation, it's applied to everybody. And that's why they give that opportunity for ministerial orders and minister to be able to give slightly different directions, because I think we know that sometimes when they were created, they didn't realize necessarily some of the resource challenges that would happen in smaller communities, and it becomes this big blanket policy. So this is, I think, a great step, and I think we'll probably have a firm or at least a better understanding for directions and next steps when we hear back.
Okay, so we will tweak the letter just a little bit, and then we'll send it, we'll proof it, and then we'll get it out to the ministry. Okay, that's it for that. Next up is our round table, what we're hearing good and bad, and we'll start with Councillor Curtis.
Thank you very much. Pretty quiet for me. That's kind of ironic, I guess. I had questions about some of the derelict properties that we have mentioned today, so I'll have some information to go back to some of the people that have been asking what we're doing with that. But yeah, that's all that's been coming out on my corner for right now.
Okay, Councillor Rudick, I know that you were searching for some answers on some of the things that you calls on, so.
Yeah, I had a question that was posed to me about the use of sand and salt and snow removal when the temperatures were so warm. So I don't know if you want to do that in your report, Director Lefebvre, or if you want to provide the answer here. So that was one, so I'll let you answer that, and then I've got another too.
You want to get one?
Thank you, Councillor. I did talk with Dan Quigg, our Public Works Manager, and we were trying some calcium chloride sand mix on some of our streets to soften them up. We know that the calcium chloride and a light mixture of salt with it works best at warmer temperatures, typically -8, -10, and up till warm. We were trying to peel off a lot of the slop and the frozen material underneath the slop. So when it did get colder, as it has, that we haven't got large ruts to remove. In the late afternoon, the slop comes off pretty good. In the mornings, it doesn't work so good. So to layer, they were trying to layer a quick layer of the calcium chloride sand down. And once it started to warm up, it was very effective in breaking up the ice back into slush quicker than we could scoop it up and with the graders and blow it out and clean it up. So that's what they were trying. It wasn't the whole town. It was a few blocks.
Thank you for clarifying, because there seem to be a lot of road maintenance experts in the community.
So just to clarify, Councilor Rudy, what we're trying to is people accusing the town of sanding twice in the same day and it was warming up. But what the objective was from Public Works was to use a hot sand mix to try to melt it down faster so that as we were picking, we could take all of the base off the road. We just, I know the indication were that town's just running around sanding everything twice in a day, then they're picking it up. But there was a purpose and an intention, what we're trying to do. And again, there seems to be a lot of road maintenance experts on certain sites in town.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for clarifying that, because I think it's helpful for the public to be able to understand. And I think given the huge volume of snow that we received on Sunday, the timing was actually helpful. I know for our neighborhood, it was helpful to be able to get some of that taken away. The other comment that I had was from some of the community members that are very pleased to see the new bylaw officer introducing himself and making himself familiar with some of the local businesses, seniors' homes, and community members. So very positive response from people. And seen his vehicle out and about. He's been very busy and very visible and very prominent. So happy to see that front and center for people.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Roba.
Thank you. Well, I think anytime we haven't had snow for a while and then we have snow, we obviously get some snow calls. But I had in particular had somebody reach out just asking us about a level of training and safety training that happens with our staff with equipment, particularly around power lines. And I just want to say, Director LaFaith, thank you very much for getting back to me. And I will, as we always say, get people to come directly to you, because you were able to give me an overview but very specific information. So the things that I just would note out there is that I was very pleased to hear that when it comes to training around electrical, we have, as an average, had every 2 years full training that is done through ATCO. Obviously, the people that know what they're doing, there is already plans in place for the next set of training, which was very good to hear, as well as I appreciate you being able to provide me that clarification in regards to, first of all, there is a misconception a little bit about the numbers that are given sometimes for distancing, that of course it's distancing to the line, the power line itself versus the pole, being two very different. But also I appreciate the clarification in regards to the actual specific distances that have to do with the type of voltage. And that some of the voltage that was being brought forward to me was certainly ones you would see in more rural settings versus what we would have, and that the numbers that were being brought did not apply to the actual voltage we have in the area. So I will, of course, get the information back. I appreciate it. Glad to see that there is this training and that there was already forward thinking in the planning for recognizing that there's new staff. So that was good to see, and I'll continue to encourage people to reach out always as a first step to your department, because you were able to give a really comprehensive answer. So I appreciate that. And that was what I heard. So thank you.
It's really funny how some people are so misinformed when it comes to distances and safety and stuff, but they seem to be adamant that they're right.
Well, and sometimes things come from very good places. People having concerns about, what happens, do people know what to do in situations? And I think that some people wouldn't realize the actual stringent level of safety that is required of a municipality and how things have changed. I can say that of being a councillor years before in another community where, quite frankly, your council itself would come to check out an issue And literally, I can tell you, I actually went in a manhole. That doesn't happen now. And I think sometimes we forget that, you know, we are held to a standard. We're a bigger community, but we also have standards that are required to us. And we're audited on our standards, and we are audited on our safety record. So I think that is important for people to know that there's a lot of steps, and it's taken very serious. And a lot of people wouldn't realize either that we have regular safety meetings for our staff. Or just some of the levels that is required. So I appreciate that, because I actually had no idea about some of the voltage stuff that even determines how and when somebody can access equipment around poles and electrical. So it was good.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bullock.
Thank you, Mayor. Much the same as Councillor Rudick, I heard comments about sanding and snow removal on both different spectrums. Some people not excited, some people very happy with it. So I guess that's probably going to be a forever issue. Some people will be happy and some people won't. So I'm getting used to that part, you know, as the years go on. So that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. Compared to many other communities, we do a fantastic job. So carry on, Canada. So as for mentioning about the bylaw going around with the RCMP, it did come to me in 3 different conversations. All good. One was like, why are they walking around? Well, they're just letting their presence known, and it's noticed. The other businesses have noticed it too, and it was all good. So that's a very positive light on something that's happening here. So that's it for now.
Thank you. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have anything new. I just would like to say that I appreciate receiving copies of emails of responses back for things like the sanding. It only makes sense that if you're having problems with the ice, that you sand it so that you can pop it off and get rid of it. And the same with the power lines. And I was also very pleased to hear today that the derelict houses are going to be taken care of. So I'm just saying kudos to staff.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate it, Councillor Barry. And I know these derelict houses, and it's not an easy task that we give to Mitch or that department, but you know, he is very persistent, and he's found a way that we're moving forward with at least 2 of them now, and the rest will end up in court, and we'll have to wait for the decision. I do have an update. At our last meeting, council meeting, I read a letter from the county regarding Family Day breakfast, and the Family Day breakfast request of $250 from the county and some of their councillors and staff to help us out. And they went more than that. They said we don't have to ask anymore. They will be in for their share forever. And then I mentioned that it would be nice if the Reeve was to show up at our Family Day breakfast once. And so I wrote him a letter and asking if he could come this year or next year if he was busy. And I just want everybody to know that the Reeve, Roger Konieczny, has reached out to me, and he has let me know that if he could, he would. But his family uses Family Day for what it's meant for. And they spend the day together, all their family gets together, and I do respect the Reeve, Roger, for that. And so not any time in the near future, because they always plan their whole family together for the whole day they make events. So again, I respect him for it, and I appreciate him getting back to me on that. And I apologize if it looked like I was calling him out when I was really wasn't, but I thought I would invite him. So, but again. Okay, up next, we are going to move on to, I don't know if you're ready for this, Director Lefebvre, but we'll go to the Director highlights. You got nothing?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, other exciting news is that we are about 65% of the way through our airport lot lease review and update. It has come up. There's just a couple of situations there that we find now that our current lease agreement may be a little light in some areas, and it's time to improve it. So the infrastructure coordinator, Brian, she's working on that hard, and we're hoping to have some information in a couple more meetings. As we know, at the budget, we had proposed a highway truck to haul our recycling material into the city, and that was turned down, and instead what we've done was budgeted a certain amount of money to get a private hauler. We've gone through the process of getting a private hauler, and we did reach out to, first we did some research to see if we could hire, farmers, things like that, or maybe have some slack time in the winter. And that's not possible unless they get commercial insurance, commercial vehicle inspections, things like that. So not too many were interested. We did get about 5 different quotes on it, and we're happy to inform that we're able to stay local and are using Quest as our provider. And so far, it's been working out well. When we need product gone, we need product gone now, we're starting to pack up because we've been sitting on it for a while. So they've already taken a couple loads out, and we're happy that it's within the budgeted amount that we proposed, and that it's already going in, it's local, so we're happy with that. The intermunicipal collaboration framework that was completed, this is the 5th year. It covered many things, recreation, road transport responsibilities. For my area, what is up is the solid waste agreement. So we'll be pulling that together with some of our council to sit down and see where we're at, and then start working with the county, as the true ICF committee involves 3 of county council, 3 of town council, and some administration. So just to let you know that will be starting, because it's time to review it, as the 2024 was the last agreed upon term for solid waste. 2025 will be new, pending on what's agreed upon on this one. So you'll see that coming up shortly. I have an update on the new force main replacement and lift station upgrade. As you know, the project just recently started very late last year and is rolling through. The project is in its early stages. We are currently with New Edge, we're laying out the force main by directional drill. We're adding in our pump bypass stations as we go along. And the budget amount, as you know, through our budget is 3.8 million, 3.83 and change, but 3.8 million. This first progress certificate number 1 has just been out and paid, and that was paid for the work done to this point. That was paid for the amount of inventory that's on the ground that's here, and the mobilization to site. So that amount is $615,772. So that puts our project from about 3.8 million to about 3.214. And remember, out of that 615,772, we keep a 10% holdback. So we would hold back $61,577 until end of product, when we're satisfied with the acquisition certificate at the end. So the project is going well. It's early. We've developed a really good working relationship with New Edge, so we're happy with that, and we have not touched our contingency at this point.
Excellent.
Any questions?
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Director Lefebvre. Next up, CAO highlights.
Okay, just a few things. Since our last legislative meeting, I've met with the provincial grant personnel to discuss the requirements of our future final reporting with our ISIP grant. So just going over the few things that we have to make sure that we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's before we send in the final bill, as the completion of prosperity is continuing. Attended the Alberta Munis LGFF webinar, sat with your worship and our Parks and Recreation Facility manager along with the president of minor hockey. Attended an information center regarding the provincial policing municipal agreements on the future of setting priorities within municipalities for policing. I met with bylaw and planning and development on a bylaw complaint to discuss options. Attended the internal economic development committee meeting. We held our Q1 quarterly management meeting, and met with staff from municipal affairs on the roles and responsibility of a CAO. Municipal Affairs offers a meeting with all new CAOs who have entered into this position. And they came out and visited last Thursday. It was a full morning visit, and we talked about the roles and responsibilities when it comes to everything from dealing with council, financial reporting, planning and development. It was actually a very good meeting. And then attended council reset. And in between everything else, whatever needed to get done.
So we're not having a CAO council meeting after this meeting?
It's still on the schedule, yes it is.
Oh, you still got stuff to bring forward?
I thought you guys had stuff to bring forward.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought we got a lot of it out. Okay. No problem. I thought our reset took care of all that hollering, but that's fine.
No, I do have some,
Okay. Okay, well, I just know that Councilor Riddick's got to get home because I told her we'd be done at 5:30 and she has people waiting on her. But that's fine. So, huh? Okay. So, next up, everybody sees what the upcoming events are. Hopefully everybody that is going to Emerging Trends with Brownlee will try to carpool the best they can. Is there anybody that's not going to be able to make the Family Day breakfast?
I know Councillor Barry will not be in attendance. Director Lefebvre will not be in attendance, but I think that's it so far. Oh yes, Councillor Lemko is also unavailable for the event as well.
What about you, Leslie? Somebody's gonna make us look good. And how many are coming from the county?
There'll be 5 from the county.
Well, I think that's quite a bit.
Yeah, that's lots. Yeah.
Okay. Next up is we have a closed session, 2 different items. So I need a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. That motion is at 5 o'clock, Leslie. So do you guys want like 5 minutes?
Sure.
Real quick and.
I know